You're not separate from the version of yourself who already has everything you've ever wanted. You are intertwined with it, and the quantum field is simply waiting for a signal from you. That signal isn't just about your desires, it's about the identity you choose to live from. Right now, in this very moment, there exists a version of you living the life you've been imagining. It's not just an idea, it's a frequency, a state of being, and through the mysterious process of quantum entanglement, you are already connected to it. Not tomorrow, not when you've healed, not when you've mastered manifestation. Now, the real question isn't whether your dream life exists, it's why you haven't tuned into it yet. If you feel stuck, or if your goals seem unreachable, it's not because they're far away, it's because your current identity is still tied to a version of you that hesitates, doubts, and sabotages progress. The moment you shift your sense of self, not just in your thoughts, but in your state, reality begins to rearrange itself around you. Here's the hidden truth. Most people never learn how to do this. They spend their lives trying to force change from the outside in, working harder, pushing, struggling. Even when they turn to spirituality, they repeat the same mistake, attempting to visualize their way into a new life without dismantling the old identity that keeps them anchored where they are. That's why this isn't another law of attraction pep talk. This is about dismantling your current reality and learning to collapse. Timeline's the meeting point between two profound concepts, quantum entanglement and quantum jumping. Entanglement explains why your state influences your life, why your energy impacts matter, and why your subconscious programming doesn't exist in isolation. You're always sending a signal into the quantum field, not through words, but through vibration, through the way your identity interacts with possibility itself. Quantum jumping, on the other hand, is often misunderstood. It's not magic or escapism. It's an identity shift that lets you move between different versions of reality, each one already holding a version of you that's ready to be lived and experienced. And here's something you've already felt. That one decision that changed everything in an instant. That was a jump. That sudden moment when you saw yourself differently. That was a ripple through millions. That deep knowing you're meant for more. That's your future self sending signals back through the quantum field. Time isn't a straight line, it's layered. Which means your future self can reach for you, just as you can reach for them. You're in a constant feedback loop with the version of you who's already achieved what you want. The link is active right now. That's the secret. The field doesn't need you to force or strain. It needs your coherence, your clarity, your frequency to match what you're calling in. Not through talking about it, but through being it. So in this guide, we're going to strip away everything you thought you knew about manifestation and walk step by step through the real mechanics of using quantum entanglement to make timeline shifts not just possible, but inevitable. And no, this isn't about wishing, hoping, or trying to imagine harder. This is about collapsing outdated identities, aligning your frequency, and recoding reality itself. Quantum entanglement is one of the strangest, yet most well-documented phenomena in modern physics. In essence, it means that two particles that were once connected remain linked, so that a change in one instantly impacts the other, no matter how far apart they are. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. But what few people ask is, what does this mean for your consciousness, your sense of self, and your reality? If matter behaves this way, why wouldn't you? You are not just a single point in space. You are a living, breathing field of awareness. And just like those particles, you've been entangled, not just with people, but with countless alternate versions of yourself, across infinite time, versions that made bold choices, healed instead of hiding, acted instead of hesitating. You're not cut off from them. You're either resonating with them, or you're out of tune with them. And that's what determines which you, the quantum field, reflects back in your life. The glitch is this. Most people remain connected to the version of themselves that's still stuck in survival mode, still cautious, still afraid. not because they choose to be, but because they were conditioned into it through repetition, trauma, and identity loops so deep they go unquestioned. What you stay entangled with, you strengthen, you send it out, you turn it into reality. So when someone says, "I tried manifesting, but nothing worked," the problem isn't their desire or their effort. It's that their underlying signal is still broadcasting from the version of them that doesn't believe, doesn't act, and doesn't live as though the new reality is already theirs. Here's the bottom line. The quantum field doesn't respond to wishing, to desperation, or even to imagination alone. It responds to frequency. Your frequency isn't decided by what you think about for a few minutes a day. It's shaped by what you embody every moment. That's why they never make the leap, because a quantum jump isn't something you do, it's something you become. You can't step into your dream reality if you're still operating from the version of yourself that doesn't feel worthy of it. You can't shift timelines by imagining success while making fear-based decisions. The field doesn't care about your words. It cares about what you're entangled with, the patterns you reinforce through your choices, your focus, and your energy. Sometimes, the version of you that already has what you want is pulling on the cord, and you feel it. It shows up as flashes, dreams, and moments when the world feels thin, almost transparent. Those glimpses aren't fantasy, they're bleed-throughs. That reality is touching yours, and you're touching it. The link is active right now. The real question is, how long will you ignore it? In the next part, I'll show you how to re-entangle your field, not with mindset tricks or empty affirmations, but through something far more powerful, intentional identity collapse. That's how we stop repeating loops and actually shift. But first, pause. If you feel this message in your bones, you're not learning, you're remembering. That's what happens when quantum entanglement starts to activate. You don't hear something new. You recognize something ancient in you. So if something stirred inside you while watching this, do one thing: acknowledge it. Write in the comments the timeline you're ready to collapse. Not the one you want, the one you're done living in. Naming it is the first step in letting it dissolve. Now, let's meet the method. You've been entangled with the version of you that doubts, delays, and compromises. But the version of you who's already leaped, they're not out there. They're already here, already watching through your eyes. The only reason you haven't become them is because the identity you keep collapsing into drags you back into the same movie. It's time to change the observer. Every moment, you are choosing which version of yourself is behind your awareness. Most people don't realize this. They think they are their thoughts, habits, and personality. But those are just software. And here's the truth. You are the one choosing the operating system. You can reboot at any time. This is the essence of quantum jumping, not trying to become something new, but refusing to keep observing life through the self that's entangled with limitation. The jump happens through collapse. So, how do we do it? What you're not going to do. You're not going to close your eyes and pretend you're somewhere else. You're not going to chant or visualize just yet. That's the escape strategy of the old self. But jumping isn't escape. It's reclamation. We start with one thing only: awareness. Step 1. Witness it with the version of you you're ready to dissolve. Let them speak. Let them be seen. No judgment, just recognition. Most time, don't end because you fight them. They end because you've outgrown them. Step 2. Sever. This is where you break the entanglement. Speak, internally or aloud. This is no longer who I am. I release this version. I collapse this observer. Resistance will come. That's normal. The old identity fights to survive, but it only has power if you believe its voice is still yours. Step 3. Choose. Once the field is clear, claim the new identity. Don't just think it, embody it. Stand like them, breathe like them, make choices from their frequency. Don't ask, what would my highest self do? Ask, what does my highest self no longer tolerate? Then stop tolerating it now. This isn't a one-time ritual. It's a way of living. Each day, each breath, reinforces the new entanglement. Over time, not years, but energetic cycles, the field aligns, because it must. The observer shapes reality. Here's the beauty. The version of you, who already has everything you desire, is not a stranger. It's a memory coded in your energy. Still alive, still waiting. After the jump comes recalibration. Because entering a new timeline is only the first step. You have to stabilize in it. When you install a new operating identity, expect noise. People may react differently, not because you've said anything new, but because they feel it. Your energy shifts before your words do. Some conversations will stop making sense. Some relationships will shake, not from rejection, but from misalignment with your old frequency. The old timeline may try to pull you back, not as punishment, but as an echo. You might feel uncertain, emotional, or overwhelmed. That's normal. You've stepped into unfamiliar vibration, and your nervous system is catching up. Think of a radio changing stations after years of static. At first you'll hear overlap and ghost frequencies. In that noise, the old identity may whisper, "See, nothing's changed." This is the test, not of strength, but of clarity. Because reality doesn't shift neatly, it shifts quantumly. When you step into a new state, anything that doesn't match begins to fall away. And what falls away often resists before it disappears. Anchoring is the key to staying in the new timeline. It's not about forcing, faking, or affirming until you're exhausted. It's about responding from the new identity even before the world reflects it back. When the bank account looks empty, respond as abundance. When the relationship feels stuck, speak as wholeness. When fear knocks, answer as your highest self. Every time you choose the new observer in thought, feeling, and action, you stabilize the field. The quantum realm doesn't reward effort, it reflects consistency. The universe isn't testing you, it's responding to you. So instead of asking why hasn't my reality changed yet, ask, which version of me did I reinforce today? That's when the jump becomes real, not in moments of inspiration, but in moments of doubt. When you choose again and again to be the one you decided to become, you'll wobble, you'll forget, you'll fall into old patterns. But every time you remember and return to the new identity, you retune the field. Eventually, the old frequency loses its grip, because every quantum leap starts the same way, not with fireworks, but with frequency. Strength isn't about forcing your way into a new reality. It's about letting the old one fade until the new one feels natural, effortless, inevitable. You're not faking it until you make it. You're feeling it until it stabilizes. At some point, without even realizing it, you'll look around and notice your external reality has shifted. Not because you pushed or struggled, but because you became unshakable in your frequency. You stopped reacting from scarcity. You stopped making deals with limitation. You stopped giving a platform to the voice that never believed in you. And when that voice no longer dominates the channel, reality can't help but rewrite the script. So before we continue, I want you to reflect on this. What's one decision you could make today that only the version of you in the new timeline would make? It doesn't have to be dramatic. Just one choice, one shift, one moment of alignment. Because that's all it takes to start reinforcing the new field. In the next few minutes, we'll close the loop. We'll talk about living in sustained quantum awareness, where jumping isn't an occasional breakthrough, but your default state. Where the shift you made becomes a way of seeing, moving, and transmitting, upgrading not just your life, but your timeline itself. And this is where it truly begins. Not the leap that already happened. Not the test that was just background noise. This is the moment where everything inside you slows, recalibrates, and locks into place. Where the new version of you becomes the only version that makes sense. Something subtle happens when you choose coherence over chaos. Again and again, the new identity stops feeling like a role you're playing. It stops feeling like a costume, and before you even notice, you've become the version you once pictured in your mind, not because you forced it, but because you stopped feeding the self who couldn't hold it. This is real integration. The choices feel quieter, but more grounded. Your responses come from truth instead of fear. You stop arguing with old thoughts, not because you've won against them, but because they simply don't belong to you anymore. They were echoes from another timeline, another you, and in this reality, they can't survive. This is the quantum made practical, not abstract theory, not pretty words. Your actual life. You'll notice old triggers lose their grip, emotions will rise and dissolve without becoming your identity. The way you speak changes, the way you move shifts, not because you're trying to act different, but because you've stopped pretending to be someone you're not, and that's the full loop. The old observer, the one who used to collapse your reality in ways you didn't want, has been replaced, not through magic, through choice, through repetition, through breath, through awareness, and in doing so, everything around you, people, opportunities, synchronicities, begins to reorganize itself. Not because reality is rewarding you, but because it's finally reflecting the truth of who you are now. So what happens next? You live it, you walk it, you breathe it, and every time life hands you contrast, which it will, you ask, which version of me is being invited right now? That's it. That's the code. That's the key. You're not here to control life. You're here to signal it. And your signal gets sharper with every aligned choice, every steady breath, every moment you remember who you've chosen to be. Because here's the truth. You didn't jump into some faraway timeline. You dissolved the illusion that you were ever separate from it, that life was never out of reach, that self was never lost. The connection was always active. You just stopped ignoring it. From here, the only thing left is to live as if this is normal. Because when it feels normal, it becomes real. Your timeline doesn't evolve through force. It evolves through embodiment. So breathe. Notice what's different in your body. Not what you hope for, what you already know. That's your signal. That's your anchor. That's your proof. And before you go, let me leave you with this. If this found you at exactly the right moment, if it woke something ancient inside you, take that as your sign not to let this connection fade. Subscribe, not because I said so, but because part of you wants to keep tuning into this field, this resonance, this rhythm you now carry. And tell me in the comments, not just what's changed, but what reality you're ready to embody. Describe it, even in a single sentence, not as a wish, but as recognition. Let your words be the signal that tells the field, I'm already here. Because when you name the life you're living now, you activate it in others. And when enough of us live that way, the field shifts for everyone.